Hello everyone and a warm welcome back to Stepmum Space Listener Questions with me, Katie South. Each week I take one listener question and explore it here, sharing not only my thoughts but yours as well. And just to say, before we go any further, all questions and answers are anonymised, but the words and experiences are real. This week's question is a slightly longer one, but context really matters here, so I'll read it all. Becky writes, my partner's ex has emailed with a list of things my stepdaughter is not happy about. 1. She doesn't like it if we don't wear full PJs in bed, even though we do put them on when she comes into the room. 2. She doesn't like being referred to as the little one because it makes it sound like she's my daughter. And 3. She doesn't like me doing her hair, even though she asks me to. Should we reply? And if so, what should we say? Now, before we even get into what to do, let's slow this right down. Because what I hear underneath the question isn't really what's the right wording for an email. It's something much deeper, and that is the fear of having your private family life picked over, of being watched, of being assessed, of having very ordinary, everyday moments in your own home suddenly critiqued. And that feeling is incredibly common for stepmums, especially when communication comes via a biomum rather than directly from the child or through your partner. When I shared this on my stories, the responses were strong. And this tells us something, right? Because this isn't really about pajamas or nicknames or hair. It's about boundaries. It's about who speaks for whom, and it's about how much influence the other household has over yours. Many of you said some version of don't reply or ignore her, don't give it oxygen, whilst others said reply very briefly, saying something like, thanks for letting us know, we'll talk with her. Both those responses close down that dialogue between your home and biomum. And that's important because when concerns about one household are consistently funneled through the other parent, it can really quietly create a triangle between the child, the biomum, and your household. And triangles in family systems almost always increase anxiety for everyone involved. Now, I want to pause here because this isn't about painting all biomums as controlling or unreasonable, and there are situations where a child genuinely doesn't feel able to speak up directly to their dad or to a stepmum. And this is especially common in the early stages of blending or with children who are conflict avoidant, anxious, or really worried about upsetting someone. In those moments, a biomum may be trying to act as a bridge and may be thinking, if I pass this on, things might feel easier for my child over there. Or she may simply want her child to feel heard. Children do often use the parent they feel safest with as an emotional translator, particularly when they're navigating two homes, different expectations, and new relationships. It can sometimes feel safer to talk about a situation to the other parent than to speak directly into it at dad's house. I've had to navigate this myself as a biomum, and it isn't always easy to find the balance between supporting your child and respecting the other parent's way of living. So it's important to remember that sharing a child's discomfort isn't automatically wrong, and it isn't always about control. But where it becomes more complicated, and I know many of you experience this, is when it turns into a pattern. So a one-off or occasional message can be absolutely okay, particularly if it's handled lightly and followed up by the child being supported to talk things through more directly next time. Most families will have moments like this: a tricky transition, a misread situation, a child finding their feet, and that in itself isn't the issue, because the difficulty comes when it stops being occasional and it starts happening regularly. You might know what I mean here. Frequent messages, lists of issues, everyday interactions being reported back, and small discomforts repeatedly escalated into adult-to-adult conversations. Now, at that point, something subtle but really important begins to shift, because the message the child may receive is, I don't need to speak into this myself, someone else will do it for me. And then the message the stepmum may receive is, my behaviour, my home, and my relationships are all being monitored. Whilst the message the couple system receives is, We don't get to hold our own boundaries without outside input. And this is the place where anxiety starts to rise, not because anyone is necessarily being malicious, but because the system becomes over-involved and under-contained. I know many of you are going to recognise this moment, and it's that moment where you stop reacting to that one message in a neutral, rational way, and you start bracing for the next one, start feeling anxious about what's coming. Then you begin walking on eggshells, overthinking ordinary interactions, second-guessing your words and pulling back emotionally just to protect yourself. And none of that helps you or the child. Because for the child, short-term relief can come from an adult smoothing things over, but long-term resilience is built when children learn, I can speak, I can be heard, I can tolerate a bit of discomfort and work it through. There's also an important role for dads here. This isn't something stepmums should be left carrying alone. So deciding how feedback is handled and where boundaries sit is part of the parental responsibility within your household for you and your partner. But it might be easier for your partner to communicate directly with the ex about their child. And the way that you respond is really important, because once you start responding to lists like this, you can accidentally set a precedent that everyday interactions are open to review, private dynamics are up for commentary, and the other household has a say in everything that happens at yours. And it doesn't mean the child's feelings don't matter, they absolutely do. But how those feelings are handled is really important. So not every discomfort needs to be escalated into adult-to-adult communication, especially with older children. Learning to raise things directly with a parent within the household they're in is a really healthy developmental skill. And secondly, some of the points raised may not even belong to the child in the way they've been presented to you. Many stepmums find that when they speak directly with their stepchild, the issue hadn't been said at all, or it was said very differently, or it wasn't actually a problem for the child. Now, this doesn't mean anyone is actually lying. It just means messages can change when they're carried through another adult. And you are allowed to have ordinary human boundaries in your home. You get to decide what is and isn't open for discussion with the other household. So in answer to the question, should we reply and what should we say? Often, the most regulating option is, as many of you said, something simple, neutral, and non-engaging like, thanks for letting us know, we'll talk with her when she's with us. No justifying, no explaining, and no point-by-point defence, even if you want to. And then crucially, the conversation happens in your home with your partner, face-to-face with the child in a way that feels safe and appropriate for everyone. So if you're sitting with something similar right now, I want you to know that it's okay to feel uncomfortable when your private life feels exposed, and it's okay to want to protect the boundaries of your home, and you don't have to respond to every message just because something's been sent. You can take your time and you can respond in a way that feels good for you. Becky, I really hope that helps. Do let us know how it goes, and thank you to everyone who shared their thoughts. If you've got a question you'd like me to explore in a future episode, you can DM me at stepmumspace on the socials or email katie@stepmumspace.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.